I will lead then. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Panuman Supari Prajapacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome, everybody, to Srimad Bhagavatam reading with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, December 24th in 2025, and we are beginning with Srimad Bhagavatam 4:24:67.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kvastvat Padabjam Vijahati Pandito Yaste Vamana Vyayamana Ketanaha Vishankayasmad Guru Archati Smayad Vinopapatim Manavastraturdasha. My dear Lord, any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshiping your lotus feet? even our father and spiritual master, Lord Brahma, unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. Purport: the word Pandita means a wise man. Who is actually a wise man? The wise man is described in the Bhagavad Gita in this way: Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Thus, when the wise man actually becomes wise, after many births and whimsical attempts at self-realization, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Such a Mahatma, or learned person, knows that Krishna, Vasudeva, is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Learned persons always think that life is wasted unless they worship Lord Krishna or become his devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami also says that when one becomes an advanced devotee, he understands that he should be reserved and perseverant, kshanti, and that he should engage in the service of the Lord and not waste time, avyartha kala tvam. He should also be detached from all material attraction, virakti, and he should not long for any material respect in return for his activities, mana shunyata. He should be certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him, asha bandha, and he should always be very eager to serve the Lord faithfully, samukanta. The wise man is always very eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing namagana sadaruchi. He is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Asaktis tad gunakyane. He should also be attracted to those places where the Lord had his pastimes. Priti stad vasati stale. These are symptoms of an advanced devotee. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tadati Shapadantikam Bande Hang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrashatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Pravijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Panchakul Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Katvat Padabjam Vijahati Pandito Yaste Vamana Vyayamana Ketana Vi Shankayasmad Gurur Archatis Mayad Vinop Papatim Manavastruturdasha. This is how a pundit sees. He knows that unless I'm engaged in the service of Krishna, my life is wasted. Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Nabhajiya. Then Srila Prabhupada describes the wise man as the person who surrenders finally to Krishna after so many births of being whimsical, Prabhupada said. After many births and whimsical attempts at self-realization. Tried various flaky methods of concocted by oneself or others. But finally, when nothing works and one becomes genuinely fortunate, one surrenders to Krishna and becomes Mahatma. Then describing the qualities of a Mahatma, Srila Prabhupada takes the description of bhava from Chaitanya Charitamrita, or it's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The bhava is ecstasy, or the prior stage of love for Krishna. And the Srila Rupa Goswami, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ultimately, have described the characteristics of bhava. Although it's love, it's not described just in terms of sentiment, how one's heart is overflowing with this feeling and that feeling. Rather, there are practical, we can say practical, or yes, signs of ecstatic love for Krishna. The shanti, to be reserved and perseverant despite everything, despite all obstacles. Shanti. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshanti rajava. To be very tolerant. Spreading the Krishna consciousness movement requires great tolerance. So kshanti, or practicing Krishna consciousness, requires perseverance and tolerance. And then avyarta kalatvam, to be not to want to waste, to avoid wasting time. Avyarta, avyarta means uselessly spending one's time. No, the time, Prabhupada used to quote from Chanakya, that one moment of time lost can't be restored even in exchange for unlimited gold or wealth. So time should be very carefully invested in Krishna's service. And that's the sign of an advanced devotee. Devotee who's less advanced wants time off. He wants to chant Hare Krishna and then have some recreational time for engaging in something other than Krishna consciousness. He wants a break. Sometimes Krishna consciousness, sometimes something else. But the advanced devotee doesn't want to waste even a moment of his valuable time. He always wants to be engaged in service. Then virakti, detachment. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada, when talking about advancements in Krishna consciousness, would focus on this item, virakti. Tears in the eyes and rolling on the ground, and that we can fake. That we can fake. But genuine detachment is hard to fake. When to be genuinely detached from sense gratification, genuinely detached from material engagements or attachments, we could say. That requires attachment to Krishna. The sign of attachment to Krishna is that one becomes detached from matter. Bhaktir Parsyanubhava Viraktir Anyatras Chaisha. So detachment. And mana shunyata. Mana means honor, respect. Generally, we do something in order to get respect. Sometimes it's really prominently shown. We want to give a donation, but we're very careful about having our name on the building, or how big will the letters be on the plaque. We want to be recognized, or even in small matters, we want it known that we did this, we did that. That tendency is quite natural in the material world. We all like to be appreciated. And if we're not appreciated, then we feel disappointed, hurt. But here, mana shunyatva. Shunya means zero. The advanced devotee doesn't give a hoot about respect or honor or recognition. He just wants to serve. And ashabandha. Ashabandha is the feeling that in spite of all my disqualifications, Krishna may be kind. That verse is there, that quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Nectar of Devotion. Let's see if we happen to see it, or if we can find it. All of these qualities are discussed in the next Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah. Naprema Shravanadi Bhaktir Apiva Yogota Va Vaishnavo Gyanam Va Shubhakarma Va Kiyadaho Sajjatir Apyasti Va Hinartadi Kasada Ke Tvaitata Pyachchedya Mula Sati Ego Pi Janaballapa Vyatayate Ha Ha Madai Shaiva Mam. O my Lord, I do not have any love for you, nor am I qualified for discharging devotional service by chanting and hearing, nor do I possess the mystic power of a Vaishnav, or knowledge or pious activities, nor do I belong to a very high caste family. On the whole, I do not possess anything. Still, O beloved of the gopis, because you bestow your mercy on the most fallen. I have an unbreakable hope that is constantly in my heart. That hope is always giving me pain. So this is a verse by Sanatana Goswami, quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The devotee feels devoid of all qualifications, but still, Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar, you're the savior of the most fallen. So I have great hope that you'll engage me, you'll accept me in your service. Then another sign of ecstasy, samutkanta. Samutkanta means eagerness. Eagerness. The devotee is eager to serve Krishna. It's not just, all right, I guess yeah, I have to do something. The generally, even the neophytes are eager to honor prasadam, but the advanced devotees are eager to glorify the Lord by chanting, by hearing, by remembering, by serving. Samutkanta, some udkanta. Udkanta is eagerness, samut, complete, fully eager to serve. This is life, not just to be dragging along, but to have great eagerness to serve Krishna. And namagane sadaruchi, to have a taste for hearing and chanting. Yes, a taste, especially for the holy name of the Lord. Labinata namanami. He doesn't think, oh, only 2 rounds left, only half a round left. He's feels a taste for ruchi. Ruchi means a taste. It's not just an obligation. No, namagana sadaruchi. And asakti stad gunakyane. He has an attachment to the transcendental qualities of Krishna. He's always eager to hear about and talk about Krishna's transcendental qualities. Yes. And Priti's Tatvasati Stale. He's attracted to places where the Lord had his enacted his transcendental pastimes. Mayapur, Vrindavan, or any place where connected with the Lord. All right, let's see. There's some comments.
Yes. Saraswati Mashri has a hand.
Pranams Parampurji Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Maharaj, I was reading in the Glories of Vrindavan how the demigods, when they used to see Krishna playfully engaged with his sakhas, they couldn't understand how Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could agree to be the butt of the jokes of his friends. And then it was revealed that Shukdev Goswami said after so many births, these special friends accumulated heaps and heaps and heaps of pious activity. And only after that they reached this stage where they could play with him on an equal level, so to speak. So my question is, why would the demigods not be able to understand that that was what's required?
Sometimes it's said it takes one to know one to be to appreciate that kind of advancement, one has to be advanced. The demigods, their problem is, what is that? Bhogaisharya prasaktama. They're attached to opulence and enjoyment and vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho navidiyate. Therefore, they don't develop that one-pointed, what's the word? Obsessive eagerness, obsessive attachment to serving Krishna, to pleasing Krishna. They're engaged in service, but they're also engaged in serious enjoyment. They're engaged in serious enjoyment, therefore they've become demigods. So it's difficult for them to make out. Muyanti Yatsurya, even the demigods become people, even Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma's not an enjoyer of ordinary sense gratification. He's on a much higher level of engagement. But even Brahma can't, it gets bewildered by seeing Krishna's dealings performed as if Krishna were an ordinary human being. Gudha kapatamanushay, disguised, masked. So even the demigods have difficulty understanding, and to say nothing of entering into Krishna's pastimes. Even Lakshmi can't enter into the rasa dance, in spite of performing great austerities, because she's Lakshmi, she's the goddess of fortune. She can't enter into these affairs. So these are, therefore, how glorious are the cowherd boys? How glorious are the cowherd boys? What pious activities must they have been performed? Pious activities means bhakti sukriti, because by ordinary pious activities, no amount of heaped up credit can bring one into that intimate relationship with Krishna. But by enormous credit of devotional service, these boys are playing with the absolute truth, as if that absolute truth were an ordinary human being. So one can't even estimate how great is their love for Krishna, that there's spiritual perfection. There's a verse like that about Mother Yashoda also. That what pious activities must Yashoda Mai have performed in order to have Krishna as her child, sucking her breast and calling her mother. Of course, we understand that these devotees are eternally perfect. They don't have to perform austerities or penances to become Krishna's associates. But still, that the pastime is performed to, yes, just so that we can appreciate. All right, is that okay?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I have one other question. I was also reading about when Uddhava was sent by Krishna to pacify the Vrajvasis, since they were suffering from the separation. And one of the things the gopis said was, did Krishna remember them? Did he remember how they really wanted to please him? And then another questioning was that they thought, okay, if whatever they'd done wasn't enough to please him, so it wasn't enough for Krishna to remember them, they said, okay, maybe we made a lot of mistakes. Maybe whatever we did, everything was wrong. So sometimes somebody can remember someone who when everything is wrong about that person. Everything they do is wrong. So that really affected me because I could see that for myself, can I get one thing right? Very often I ask Krishna that everything about me is wrong. It's so hard to even just get one thing right. So I'm just thinking, you know, sometimes when you're so bad and everything is so wrong about you, you stand out, and you don't really want to stand out in that way. So, what could you say to someone who asks that question, can I get one thing right?
Maybe. The one thing right is that one is surrenders to Krishna. The one approaches Krishna. If that one thing is right, then everything else is right. And if that one thing is not there, then what's the use of everything else? Prabhupada gave that example of zeros. Any number of zeros are worth nothing. But if they're next to the one, then every zero has value. So somehow or other, we may be useless, we may be whatever, but somehow if we try to serve Krishna and the spiritual master, then all right, he may be a rascal, but he's our rascal. That's all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
We have some things in the chat. Praveen Prabhu writes, Iti adoyo nu baba sur jata bhavan kore jane. These are called anubhav, subordinate signs of ecstatic emotion. They are visible in a person in whose heart the seed of love of God has begun to fructify.
Yes, Anubhava Bij in Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are signs that the creeper of devotional service is growing. These signs of Anubhav. You can say visible signs. Anubhav means, yes, visible signs of advancement in Krishna consciousness. It's not simply the tears and the shaking of the trembling of the body, but to be always engaged, not wasting a moment, to have a deep attachment to chanting the holy name, and so on. These are subsequent ecstasies or subordinate ecstasies, and in the purports of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada simply says bhav. They're signs of ecstatic love for Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, why is the hope giving pain from the quoted verse?
It's an interesting question. If there were no hope, we would just give up. All right, done, forget it. But there's some, I don't have any qualification. Still, I want it. If you don't have, if there's no question of having enough money to buy a new house or a new car, or then it's like, all right, forget it. You just put it out of your mind. You can't even think about it. But if you're close, if I had only this much more, then how do I get it? How do I get it? So there's a kind of a pain, or one is after some girl. If there's like no question, then you just forget it. But if there's some hope that she might look at me, she might favor me, then that keeps the eagerness alive that keeps the desire alive. Somehow or other, that relationship could be there. And that gives a kind of pain. I don't know how much I can speak to this, because this is Sanatan Goswami speaking, and who can measure or understand the depth of his feelings. This is not just an analytical verse, but these are hey Gopi Jana Vallabha, oh Gopi Jana Vallabha, Vyata Yate, ha, alas, alas, this hope is giving me pain. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, Nimam Virin Cho Na Bhavo Na Shrir Api Anga Samshraya Prasadam Labire Gopi Yatat Prapa Vimukti Dat. Neither Lord Brahma nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda.
Yes, very nice. But that's not the verse I was thinking of, Praveen. Let's see if we find it. Yes, it's the verse before. Nanda kim akarod brahman shreya evam mahodayam yashoda va mahabhaga papo yasyastanam harihi. O Brahman, what pious activities did Nanda Maharaj perform, by which he received the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as his son? And what pious activities did Mother Yashoda perform that made the absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead call her mother and suck her breasts? What did he do? Nanda Kim Akarod Brahman. Oh, what did he do to achieve such an exalted position? And how could Yashoda Mai have achieved such an exalted situation? What pious activities did she perform? And then this verse that you quoted is there. Therefore, Prabhupada one time there was that Gopi Bhava Club in Los Angeles, where they were some devotees aspiring for advancement, were simply selecting out verses from Srila Prabhupada's books that talked about the love of the gopis for Krishna. And when Srila Prabhupada called them to account for themselves, then one of them explained that or quoted from Prabhupada's book, that one should not divert one's attention to anything else but this aspiration. And the devotee made some remark to the effect that we shouldn't be diverted by Vatsalya or by Sakya, and we don't want to follow Mother Yashoda. We want to. And Prabhupada was furious. How unimportant is the love of Nanda and Yashoda for Krishna? Why do we want to be diverted by that? No, how How fortunate. How wonderful. Okay.
We have something in the chat from Murari Gupta Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada had a family and a business, so there had to be times when he wasn't reading, chanting, preaching, etc. But at the same time, he was always Krishna conscious. So what exactly does it mean to be Krishna conscious and not waste a moment of time?
Well, I'm hoping one day to know, but performing one's household duties is not outside of Krishna consciousness. That song is there, Shuddha Bhakata Charanarena, Bhajana Anukul. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about household life in Krishna consciousness. It's not that earning a livelihood is Maya or taking care of one's family is Maya, that everything other than reading Srimad Bhagavatam is Maya. But as the temple residents have their duties for the service of Krishna, so the residents of the Grahastha ashram also have duties for the service of the Lord. And it's the consciousness in which they perform those duties that makes it transcendentally situated. Yes, and Praveen quotes, Ye dine grihe bhajana deki grihe te golokapai. While performing devotional service, I see that I saw one day that my house had been transformed into Goloka Vrindavan because Krishna is the center. And what is that? Vrindavanam Partyaja Padamekam Nagashti. Krishna never takes one step outside of Goloka Vrindavan. So if Krishna is there, then Goloka Vrindavan is also there. Therefore, Prabhupada said our temples are not in New York or London or Paris. They're all in Vrindavan. And similarly, one's home can be like Vrindavan if one is always engaged in Krishna's service. And again, Krishna's service extends to the full range of prescribed duties. But the hearing and chanting is what should we say, the essential ingredient, the essence of the business. If we're simply cleaning the floors in the temple, but we're not chanting Hare Krishna, everything will degrade. But when we're chanting Hare Krishna and cleaning the floors, then we're following in the footsteps of the queens of Krishna who are sweeping the touchstones in Vaikuntha to get Krishna's favor. We're cleaning our hearts. So if we want that creeper of devotional service to keep growing, then we have to pour the water of hearing and chanting so that the plant will be very happy to grow and grow. Without hearing and chanting, the household life becomes mundane. But when there's hearing, there's chanting, then everything becomes devotional service by dedication to Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. So there's more to this purport. An advanced devotee or a perfect human being who is actually wise and learned cannot give up his service at the lotus feet of the Lord. Although Lord Brahma has a long lifespan, 4,320,000,000 years constitute 12 hours in a day of Brahma. Brahma is afraid of death and consequently engages in the devotional service of the Lord. Similarly, all the Manus who appear and disappear during the day of Brahma are also engaged in the Lord's devotional service. In Brahma's one day, 14 Manus appear and disappear. The first Manu is Swayambhuva Manu. Each Manu lives for 71 yugas, each consisting of some 4,320,000 years. Although the Manus have such a long lifespan, they still prepare for the next life by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. In this age, human beings only live for 60 or 80 years, and even this small lifespan is gradually decreasing. Therefore, it is even more imperative for human beings to take to the worship of the lotus feet of the Lord by constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Trinadapi sunichena turoriva sihishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi. When one is engaged in devotional service, he's often surrounded by envious people, and often many enemies come to try to defeat him or stop him. This is not new in the present age, for even in the days of yore, Prahlad Maharaj, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, was harassed by his demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu. The atheists are always prepared to harass a devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that one be very tolerant of these people. Nonetheless, one has to continue chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and preaching the chanting of this mantra, because such preaching and chanting constitute the perfection of life. One should chant and preach about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. One should thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. The Shravanam Kirtanam, this is Kirtanam. If we've heard nicely, Prabhupada said, then we'll want to speak nicely, chant the glories of Krishna. And what should be the subject of our chanting and preaching? The urgency of making this life perfect. The Manus have such a long lifespan, but they don't want to waste their time. They want to be engaged in devotional service, following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma. So when we have such a short time, then how crucial it is for us to be engaged always in Krishna's service. Vyamana Ketana. This body is decreasing, dwindling. Even if we're growing closer to decreasing. We take birth, we grow, we stay for some time, we have some byproducts, we dwindle. So even if we're not dwindling yet, that we're growing means that we're heading toward that stage later of dwindling, or else we may have already achieved that stage. It doesn't take that long. And after dwindling, then death. So, Turnam Yateta, it's urgent that we engage in the service of Krishna, and it's urgent to engage others in the service of Krishna, to persuade others that I should urgently take this up. That was Prabhupada's preaching. The first thing is to impress upon people the urgency of taking up this Krishna consciousness, not to be carried away by the waves of Maya, but to be engaged in the service of Krishna. That this is preaching. This is preaching to persuade people that yes, don't waste your time. You've already wasted so much time. Now, please take to devotional service. Please, please. Our Mahavishnu Maharaj Gujarati used to request people. I remember particularly at one Rath Yatra festival in Durban, where he was seated on the stage, and quite in his, his decline was already evident, but he was requesting people, please, 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 chant Hare Krishna. Please, 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 please. Very humbly requesting, please chant Hare Krishna. So this is preaching. We may or may not know much of the philosophy. We may or may not be great speakers, great orators. But the devotee humbly requests people, please, 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 take a book, chant Hare Krishna, give a contribution, do something. Take this mantra. Can you say Hare Krishna? Please, please, please. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, comment before Kirtan. Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, is it offensive or foolish to think that Prabhupada set an almost impossibly high standard to encourage everyone to do their best, and not being able to come to that standard while trying sincerely wouldn't disqualify us from going back to Godhead?
Of course, we may recognize that Prabhupada set a high standard, but to use that as an excuse to not to follow becomes Guru Avagya. To my Guru Maharaj, he knew I couldn't do it, but he set this very high standard, and he'll understand when I fail to fulfill these requirements. 4 rules is really tough. 16 rounds, that's really a lot of rounds. He just set this high standard to impress upon us that we should be serious, but I can't, he would know, he would be very, compassionate and understanding and accept me as I am. And so I don't really need to do these things. No, Prabhupada said, you promised. You sat before the fire, before the Vaishnavas, before the deity, and you promised that you would chant 16 rounds a day, at least, and that you would follow these 4 regulative principles. So the devotee should take it seriously and not look for a roundabout route to avoid carrying out, fulfilling, adhering to the promise that he's given. Then it becomes Guru Avagya, neglecting the instructions, avoiding the instructions of the spiritual master. And that's a Guru Aparad and a Nam Aparad. So rather, on the contrary, one should make the instructions of the spiritual master one's life and soul, not look for excuses to be materially attached. Spiritual master is the expert physician. We shouldn't look for some, what's the word? A rationale for not taking the medicine prescribed for us. It's only to our misfortune that we to do that. So we should be so far away from trying to find excuses that we are very enthusiastic, always thinking about carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. Hare Krishna. Kirtan?
Yes. Venkatesh Prabhu, are you available for Kirtan?
Okay. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Sridhar Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Prasarana Nirvishesha Nirvimadi Asavya Bhutale Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasanta Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Vishnu.
Vishnupad Panamansa Paripraj Acharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bo. I assume we're meeting tomorrow. We're not so devoted to Christmas that, or we are devoted to Christmas. We'll celebrate by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. Am I right that everyone or enough of us have freedom to in our schedules to come? Seems
Yeah.
like. Okay.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay, if it's you and me, that's enough. And maybe some others will come also. All right.
Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.
Thank you so much.
Jaya. Hare Krishna.
Thanks.